Did Lil Scrappy really walk into that Atlanta club like a storm with a name and leave it scorched earth? Because what happened that night wasn't just messy, it was cataclysmic. Legendary. A moment that turned whispers into roars, silence into explosions, and brotherhood into battlefield. The events that unfolded didn't just ripple across reality TV, they shattered it. But to truly understand the chaos that erupted in that upscale VIP lounge and why millions of fans are still dissecting every blurry phone clip, we need to go back. Way back. To the beginning. Before the betrayal, before the business moves, before loyalty got auctioned off in backroom meetings. This wasn't a single moment of madness, it was the climax of years of quiet tension, unspoken resentment, and slow-boiling deception. Lil Scrappy, the heart of Atlanta's reality TV scene, had always been the one to wear his emotions on his sleeve. A firestarter by nature, sure, but also fiercely loyal, passionate, and protective of the circle he considered family. He wasn't just a cast member on Love and Hip Hop, he was its pulse. Viewers connected with him not because he was always right, but because he was always real. When he laughed, it was loud. When he cried, it was raw. And when he felt betrayed, the whole screen shook. That authenticity made him a fan favorite, but it also made him vulnerable. Because in an industry where strategy often matters more than sincerity, being too real can make you a target. Kirk, on the other hand, had always played his cards close. He was the silent operator, never the loudest in the room, but often the most dangerous. People underestimated him because he didn't show his hand. But behind the scenes, Kirk was building deals, building influence, building a version of his brand that didn't include volatility. And then there was young Jock, the wild card. Once seen as the harmless funny guy, the lovable goofball of the group, Jock flew under the radar. But funny doesn't mean foolish. He had ambition. He had vision. And, according to insiders, he had growing doubts about where he stood in Scrappy's shadow. On camera, their bond looked tight. Banter. Support. Even a few heated debates, but always with the sense that these three were brothers who would ride out any storm together. That illusion lasted for years. But in the background, things were shifting. Scrappy had been working on expanding his personal brand, a podcast, streetwear merch, live events. He wanted to build an empire, and he wanted his day ones to be part of it. At first, both Kirk and Jock said they were in. They nodded in meetings, shared group chats, agreed on vision boards. But as the project gained traction, Scrappy started noticing changes. Missed calls. Cancelled meetings. Excuses. Silence. At first, he brushed it off. People get busy. Schedules clash. But then came the rumors. The whispers. The industry noise. That Kirk was starting something similar, a podcast and brand, without Scrappy. That Jock was involved. That deals were being signed, meetings held, visions pitched, and Scrappy wasn't even in the room. It wasn't just professional betrayal, it was personal. These weren't just collaborators. These were the same men who'd hugged his mother on set, toasted with him on birthdays, and called him a brother. From there, the tension started to seep onto the screen. Fans noticed the awkwardness. The lack of chemistry in scenes that used to feel electric. Scrappy's usually vibrant presence dimmed. Kirk and Jock exchanged glances that felt heavier than usual. The camaraderie was cracked, and the audience felt it. In a now-famous interview, Scrappy said, "You think people got your back, but really, they just got your blueprint." At the time, it flew under the radar. Now, it sounds like a prophecy, but Scrappy, despite the betrayal, played it cool. At least publicly. He didn't lash out online. Didn't expose receipts. Didn't call names. Instead, he began pulling back. Reevaluating. Planning. What the audience didn't know was that behind the scenes, Scrappy was sitting on months of text messages, DMs, and voice notes. He was watching the betrayal unfold in real time, but he didn't react. He documented. Because when you're in the spotlight, silence can be your sharpest weapon. And then came that night. The night Atlanta won't stop talking about. A Saturday in the city where the stars come out to play, VIP tables, designer fits, cameras flashing. Kirk and Jock were already at the venue, reportedly celebrating a soft launch of their new business venture. Bottle service flowing. Smiles everywhere. What they didn't know was that Scrappy knew. Knew about the launch. Knew about the betrayal. Knew they were going public with a project that was once meant to be his. So he showed up, not to drink. Not to smile. Not to dance. But to finish the conversation they never had. Witnesses say the moment Scrappy entered, the temperature dropped. Conversations paused. Even the DJ missed a beat. Scrappy wasn't dressed to blend in, he was dressed for war. Eyes locked on the back of the room where Kirk and Jock sat, drinks in hand, unaware of the storm about to hit them. Scrappy didn't detour. didn't make small talk. He walked straight to their table, and the energy turned volatile. What was said between them remains partly a mystery, but what was seen? That's undeniable. Scrappy pointed at Jock. Not Kirk, Jock. And that's what hurt the most. Because betrayal from an enemy is expected. From a brother? That's a different pain. Scrappy leaned in, said something, and Jock stood up. Not to de-escalate, but to stand beside Kirk. That was the moment it all unraveled. Sides were chosen. The past was dead. And Scrappy? He erupted. Security tried to contain it. Staff tried to hush it. But the moment was too raw, too real, too loud. Some say a glass flew. Others say there was a shove. A punch. Either way, the fight was stopped before it could fully start, but the damage? Already done. By sunrise, the footage was online. TMZ. Shade Room. Twitter. Instagram. Hashtag Team Scrappy. Hashtag Young Jock Fake. Hashtag Kirk Frost Snake. The memes were brutal. The commentary? Even worse, and while the world was watching, the players moved in silence. Jock posted nothing. Kirk made no statement. But Scrappy? He let a single IG story do the talking. Real ones don't switch. They sit down and speak. Watch who you eat with. Behind the scenes, things spiraled. Scrappy's potential deals were paused. Brands got nervous. Jock's PR team allegedly started painting Scrappy as unstable, emotional, even jealous. That word? It cut deep. Scrappy responded with another story. Jealous? Of what? I built this. Y'all just decorated it. In the weeks that followed, the silence grew louder. But insiders began to talk. Kirk had been planning this move for nearly a year. Meetings, rebranding, business proposals. And Jock? He'd been shopping a clean image to sponsors, selling himself as the reformed comic ready to talk business. Scrappy was the past. They were the future. At least, that's how they saw it, but Scrappy wasn't done. Word leaked that he was working on a new podcast, a tell-all. A docu-series. The Scrap Files. Episode 1? The Day Loyalty Died. Featuring DMs, footage, hidden audio, and guest appearances from others who felt betrayed by Kirk and Jock over the years. Scrappy wasn't just out for revenge, he was out to reclaim the narrative, and this? This is just the beginning. This document continues and will be extended up to 15,000 words in the same tone, depth, and style. The next sections will cover post-incident industry fallout, leaked footage analysis, detailed breakdown of Scrappy's upcoming docu-series, shifting public perception, behind-the-scenes narratives from former castmates, legal and brand implications, and the potential for a televised reunion or confrontation.